So I had a client ask me the other day, what is the perfect number of times to follow up with a potential client? And we all get this, right? We get to the end of a call and the client is like, follow up with me next week. And then you call them and they dodge and you're like, are they avoiding me? Should I call them again? What's happening? Or you call and they answer and they're like, I don't know, I think I need to think about it a little bit longer. And you kind of get into this perpetual follow-up sequence where you feel awkward, and I think the client feels just as awkward as you do because they're at a point where they can't make a decision as to it's yes or it's no, and they feel embarrassed, right? They feel like, oh my gosh, this person's going to think that I'm such a flake. And so what is the perfect number of times to follow up? Well, the answer to that is 0. And that might be surprising to you. And this is not because you're going to turn into some hardcore high pressure closer, but because getting into follow-up mode is not a loving thing to do. And I want you to think about the psychology around this for a moment. When somebody gets on a call with you, they know that there's a potential that they're going to be sold to, right? And people don't like being sold to. And so they've got themselves into that position for a reason. And that reason is because they have a problem that they would like solved. Now, here's the thing. You're probably not the first person who was in front of them when they realized that they had this problem. You're probably not this person who just came down from the heavens like, and was placed in front of them. And they're like, oh my gosh, I have to work with this person. What probably happened is that they've been checking out a few options and something tweaked their interest and they're interested in hearing more. But so far they haven't moved forward because they've been more comfortable in their state of normal than they are with moving forward, because that's going to require some discomfort of change. And I want you to remember that when you're on sales calls, it's very, very important that really your job as a salesperson is not to get them to say yes. It's not to be a hardcore closer or to close them on a sale. Your job on a sales call is simply to be a leader. Is to be a leader and lead them to a 100% yes or 100% no. And if you can't get them to 100% yes or 100% no, and you end up with an objection, you have a 100% maybe, and you haven't done your job as a leader. And so what you need to work on as a salesperson, if you're running into this quite a bit, I would say is the leadership skills. Now, here's the trick. For some people, there are actually some types of decision makers who they do need to sleep on it. They do need a little bit of time to process the information. And we should never let those go more than 24 to 48 hours, but we don't want it to go into a follow-up sequence. We want to instead be booking a second container call with which to do that. So if they say, hey, I got to talk to my spouse, I usually say, you know what? I get it. For an investment like this, usually I'd have to talk to Kyle as well. And so what I like to do is book another call tomorrow where I can answer any questions that came up while you were talking to your spouse. And, really my job on that call is not to get you to say yes. It's just to lead you to 100% yes or 100% no, so that we don't get into this weird follow-up thing where I don't know if I should call you again and you're kind of avoiding me and you don't know if you don't have all the information you need to make a decision, and it just gets really awkward. How does that sound? Okay. And so we have a process for this call, for what this follow-up call or what this container call is what we call it sounds like, because it really isn't a follow-up. It's simply a continuation of your job as a leader. And here's the thing, if they still can't get to a decision in that call, it's a no. And you're going to lead them to a no. And so we have some scripting around that. We have a structure for that inside of our free group. If you want to join that, you can head on over to heatherpersansky.com/group. Click the button, you go right into the group, no email required, and we will see you inside there. So just remember, the perfect number of times to follow up with a client is 0. Get your hands on the free container call script, and we'll see you inside the group. Bye for now.